It's called Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. It's a national campaign sponsored by the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, and Louisiana has adopted that program along with all of the law enforcement agencies that we contract with. So there'll be a concentrated effort during this wave to get drunk drivers off the road to reduce fatalities. We're here to unveil what we call the Batmobile, the breath alcohol testing unit that the Highway Safety Commission has issued a grant to the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office to purchase. This is a unit that has a couple of intoxilizers inside. It's mobile. It can go to major events or checkpoints to be used in conjunction with saturation patrols to try to drive those alcohol-related fatals down. The good news is in Louisiana they're down to 42%. They hovered at 50% for many, many years. Here in Jefferson Parish, they're down to 40%, so the guys, the men and women in law enforcement and the other highway safety advocates are doing a great job to drive those numbers down, and this tool should greatly help. Its purpose is to save time, number one. You have multiple testing stations inside. Instead of a law enforcement officer stopping a suspect, placing him under arrest and driving him to another location to have a test, this mobile unit can meet him there, or he could be at a central location such as a checkpoint and do a bunch of tests at one time. So it's going to greatly reduce the time involved in processing DWIs, which should give the officer more time to focus on his report, and we hope that that translates into more prosecutions and convictions down the road.
This tool is really instrumental in not only reducing the time on making arrests, but also making it much more efficient. We have capabilities, video and audio, to record not only outside for the field sobriety test, but also for the testing of the intoxilizer in the back. And if we can see these screens here, we're showing that an officer's out there with the white line, and he's actually, this field test will be recorded. Okay, and while he's recording this, if we're running another suspect in the back, we can also monitor that, which is being recorded also, where they do the intoxilizer test. It's really a vital piece of equipment because of the efficiency. It's going to be so much more efficient. And without this, we had in the past had to go from the field into the correction center, and at that point, we would do an additional recording of the intoxilizer test. Now we do everything here. In addition to our cameras, we have our fax machine here, which allows us, we have the no refusal now for the DWIs. This allows us to fax the warrant to the judge. In turn, the judge can forward it back to us, and then once we get it signed, we'll take the necessary action in the back with the removal of the blood from the suspected DWI person. It consists of 3 tests. He's going to do it's an nystagmus, the walk and turn, and a one-leg stand. And as you see, we can position the camera right where we need it. I mean, this is vital for especially court testimony. Before we had problems. He's doing a nystagmus now. And again, we have capabilities of recording audio and video, and he'll do all 3 standard tests. From this step here, we come into the, I'll let him finish. He's doing the horizontal, vertical, and the nystagmus. Now he's doing the non-stepped walk and turn.
He's just beating it up.
Yeah. And then the final test would be the one-leg stand. Again, from this testing, Tom, here in the past, we'd have to load them up into the transport car, bring them over to the jail. At that time, we'd read them their rights, and the intoxilizer test would take place. We don't have to do that anymore. Now, once we finish this field test, we go into the back here, and we do the intoxilizer test here. Read their rights, and again, it's all audio and video recorded. Everything that goes back on is recorded, back here is recorded. Both rights, testing, and while they're here, they also have the capabilities to monitor what's going on outside for safety purposes. So we all keeping a tab of what's going on with the entire checkpoint. We have blood kits in here that are placed here. We're also capable of taking blood with the no refusal. And again, it's all contained here. We do everything here. Once the suspected driver leaves from here and goes to jail, we are done with the process here. We do the process all on the scene.
First, let me say thank you to the Louisiana Highway Safety Commission for the grant to purchase this. This is a key ingredient and a component part to a lot of what we do with our DWI checkpoints throughout the parish of Jefferson. It helps us with our checkpoints. As you can see, it's a fairly large vehicle, and especially now, and we have a representative from the DA's office here as well, Norma Broussard, with our no refusal DWI checkpoints. It provides us a safe and secure place to help process the defendants while in the process of making arrest at our DWI checkpoints. I think it's going to be something of the future, not to mention, as Lieutenant Colonel LeBlanc pointed out, it's a fairly large billboard, and we get free advertising as it relates to our DWI efforts. So let me just say once again, thank you to our partners in this, and we look forward to, and we've already been in the process of utilizing this. I know there are others throughout the state, and at this point I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel LeBlanc.
Thank you, Sheriff. Very briefly, the Highway Safety Commission is tasked with driving down fatal and serious injury crashes in Louisiana. We're proud to partner with the Sheriff's Office here and all the other agencies behind us to bring those numbers down. Historically, the alcohol-related fatality rate in Louisiana has been very high. It's a stubborn problem here. But the good news is that in the last year we saw it down to 42%. 42% of our fatals were alcohol-related. For many, many years, over the last 35 years, it's been at 50%. I think that the reduction is in due a large part thanks to the men and women behind us, the law enforcement officers and other public safety advocates that help drive this down. I also want to thank Mr. Timothy Fitton over here to the side. He's our representative from the National Highway Traffic Safety Association. Without his help, the federal funds to purchase this would not have been available. That's all I have.
Thank you, Sheriff, for inviting me here, and Colonel LeBlanc. I think that this vehicle here signifies a huge commitment by the Highway Safety Commission and the agencies that are behind us, and how serious we are about DWI and DWI enforcement. And our whole goal is to keep driving those numbers down, not only get to 42%, but even lower than that. And so we're going to continue to work as hard as we can, and work closely with our partners to see to it that those numbers continue to go down. Thank you.
I'll ask Norma Broussard from the DA's office to say a few words. Our arrests are only as good as their prosecutions.
I just want to say that this is an important tool as far as enforcement, but the number one priority and what we need to understand is that prevention is key. We want to see those numbers of impaired driving going down. We want to see the number of fatalities going down, and I think enforcement is key. And this is a tool that will help us. The better cases that the police make, the better cases that we have in court, but the number one thing is prevention. Thank you.
How many other cities around Louisiana have such an enforcement bus as this?
There are several other cities. Monroe has one, Capt Parish has one, New Orleans Police Department has one, Lafayette Police Department, Baton Rouge Police Department, and Lake Charles Sheriff's Office has a smaller trailer type, not as big as this.
So these are pretty much available throughout the state?
There should be, and that was our intent. Our intent was, when we purchased one of these, to have the agency agree to incorporate some other agencies and memorandums of understanding to where they could use that. That way it would maximize the use of it, and that's what they have done.
If you refuse to take the breath test or any type of chemical test for intoxication, then you lose your license or you can lose your license for up to a year on a first offense. And then, of course, if you get convicted of a DWI, depending on the level of whether it's a first and second or both misdemeanors, you're looking at jail time up to 6 months. You're looking at a fine. You're looking at community service. You will also be losing your license depending on the level of impairment, and you will be, if it's a third or fourth, you're actually looking at some jail time.
The message is simply drive sober or get pulled over. And what that means is don't get arrested. We don't want you to get arrested, but more importantly, we don't want anyone out there above the legal limit driving where they could seriously injure or kill themselves or someone else.